Hey guys, it's Emily and welcome to a new episode of Books Around the World, in which I read books set in different cities, countries, and continents. So for this episode, we're doing things a little bit differently. Instead of focusing on a destination, we're actually going to be focusing on a mode of transportation. So if you've been following me for a while, you may know that I have a thing for books that are set on trains. I don't know why I love books that are set on trains, and I don't know what it is about me and trains, but I love a book set on a train. And I love books that are set on trains. You guys know that I have a thing for trains. So for this episode, I thought it would be nice to read books that are set on trains around the world. So I'm actually super excited about my TBR because I feel like we have a wide variety of genres, but also of locations and age ranges. So in this reading vlog, I'll be reading 3 different books. The first one is Murder on the Safari Star by Sam Sedgman and M.G. Leonard. This is the 3rd book in the Adventures on Train series, which is a middle grade mystery series. And this one takes place in Africa, so I am very excited to be reading it. I think it's going to be one of the first books that I read that are set in Africa, and it's also a new release, so I am quite excited to get to it. Up next we have Love and Other Train Wrecks by Leah Conan. This is a YA contemporary, and I believe most of the plot takes place in the United States. And last but not least, we have what I believe would be considered a classic, and it is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. This is a mystery thriller that is part of the Hercule Poirot series, and I believe this one takes place in Europe, though I could be mistaken. So there you have it, my TBR for this reading vlog. I am so excited to get to all of these books because I love a good train setting. So without further ado, let's start reading. So I think the first book that I'm going to be reading is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. I have been in the mood to read a good mystery thriller, and I have high hopes for this one. Agatha Christie tends to be a hit or miss author for me. I have really loved Murder on the Orient Express, so this is why I have quite high hopes for this one. And quite frankly, I have been in a mini reading slump. I feel like every other month in 2021 so far I've been hit by a reading slump, and so far this month I feel like I'm back into a reading slump, and I really don't want to be back into it because it was awful. Even though I did watch a lot of great TV, I do really want to be reading a lot of great books. So I'm hoping that this one will help me get out of this slumpy mood that I've been in. I haven't been reading at all this past week, so I really hope that this one will pull me out of the slump and excite me and entertain me and make me want to read other things. This is also quite short. I believe it's about 260 pages, so I don't think it's going to be a super long book to get through, and if it's anything like Murder on the Orient Express, I will not be able to put it down. So I am about 100 pages into The Mystery of the Blue Train, and I feel like so far things have been kind of slow moving. Agatha Christie does this thing really well where she will place the clues that you need in order to be able to solve the mystery throughout the entire story. So even though it seems like not much is happening, I feel like she's revealing a lot more than meets the eye. So a lot more is going on that we don't necessarily realize as a reader. It's kind of different from other Hercule Poirot mysteries that I've read so far. I haven't read a lot, to be honest. I think I've read only 2, but Hercule Poirot is not the main character in the story. We only have encountered him for a couple of pages so far. Like, he's there, but he's not like the narrator of the story. Is not the perspective that we're following so far. We've been following other characters, other people on the train rather than him. So I think that's interesting. Also, I was kind of mistaken because so far none of the action has really taken place on the train. We've had maybe 1 or 2 chapters that took place on the train and like the murder happened there. But as for the rest, I thought most of the story took place on the train, as in the Orient Express. This is what happens, like they're stuck on a train and they have to solve the mystery before they reach their destination. In this case, like everyone has disembarked and most of the story took place before the train ride. So like the train ride came in like on page 50 or 60. So a lot happened before we even reached the train. At this point, like the characters have disembarked the train and like they're no longer on it. So I feel like the train is going to play an important part because this is where the murder happened and this is where most of the story, well, the crucial elements, like the crucial clues to the story, this is where they happened. But as far as the setting goes, the train is not the main setting, which I find to be a little bit upsetting because I was reading this because of the train ride. I'm still enjoying the story, but I feel like maybe for this vlog this was not the best choice per se. But I'm still curious to see where it will go. This is a short book, so I should finish this today. Like I think I can read it in one sitting, like in one day. I wouldn't be surprised if I did because I'm reading this quite quickly and it's kind of a gripping story. You don't really know where you're going, but you know something is afoot. So you know something's going on and you know that one of the characters that we've seen so far is a murderer. So it's always interesting to see like how we're gonna reach the point where we know who it is and also what their motives are and everything. I have my theories, but I feel like my theory is kind of way too obvious and like blunt and like in your face, so I feel like it's going to be somewhere that we're not expecting. I know my hair looks weird, but I'm just waiting for it to dry before I can take the braids out. So hey guys, I have finished reading The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie and I feel kind of conflicted over my thoughts and feelings about this book. The more I think about it, the more I think my rating probably sits at a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's not exactly a 4, but 3 sounds too harsh. I dove into this book thinking that it would be kind of a Murder on the Orient Express, meaning a closed circle mystery, a lot of tension, and a train setting, obviously, and I just didn't really get that out of The Mystery of the Blue Train. However, I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. I thought it was kind of average in terms of the plot. I didn't really feel the tension of like needing to know who the murderer was, but I did really enjoy the ending of this book. I thought it was very clever. I had not seen it coming, and so I enjoyed it overall. I feel like it didn't really hit its mark. I really wanted something more like Murder on the Orient Express, but this is not necessarily a bad book by any mean. It's just more of a quiet story. I feel like not much really happens throughout the entire book, but the last maybe 20 pages, like the last 2 chapters are where things happen and where you figure out who did it, and this is where it becomes very clever and you're like, wow, okay, now I see it. So I don't really know how I feel about this. I didn't hate this, but it also didn't really meet my expectations, so I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. I just would dive into this knowing that the train setting is not the main part of it, which was one of the things that kind of disappointed me because I picked it because of its train setting, or at least what I thought was going to be the main setting of the book, and the train aspect of it takes up maybe like 2 chapters, 3 at most, and I just didn't really feel that vibe reading it. If anything, if you're looking for a book that is set on the French Riviera, like the south of France, and kind of like a summery book, I think this would be very well suited for that. And if you're not someone who wants a very high tension mystery, I think you would enjoy this. It's kind of very character driven and kind of like I was saying before, a quiet story, but it was enjoyable nonetheless, which is why I'm giving it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I also really love this cover. I know it's totally random, but I'm in love with this edition and I do not regret having it. So my next read is going to be Murder on the Safari Star by Sam Sedgman and M.G. Leonard, and I am so excited to get to this one. I have a feeling that it'll give me what I was hoping to get out of this one, so I'm really excited to dive into it. It is also one of my most anticipated releases for 2021. I cannot believe that I have not read it yet because I was so excited for it, and I'm really happy that I'm finally going to be diving into this one. It's also quite short. It's about 250 pages, and I've heard from Gavin that this was amazing and it makes him very excited for the next book in the series. So I am really looking forward to it. I'm sorry if you can hear the dishwasher in the background, but I have finished reading Murder on the Safari Star by Sam Sedgman and M.G. Leonard, and I really enjoyed it. I read it pretty much in one sitting, and I honestly really had fun reading this book. So I think I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Quite frankly, it wasn't my favorite in the series. It was really good, don't get me wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but The Highland Falcon Thief, which is the first book in the series, it remains my favorite one so far. I think part of the reason why this is getting a 4.5 out of 5 stars is because I guessed the ending. I guessed part of the ending, to be frank. I guessed the who, but not the how, and there were a lot more things at play than I had realized. But I always have to duck some points off when I guess the ending of a mystery book, because part of the fun is not knowing what's going to happen. And in this case, I had predicted who was going to be the culprit. But other than that, it was such a fun ride. I loved the backdrop. I loved seeing Africa through Al's lens, and there were a lot of illustrations throughout, and it just added to the fun. Like, honestly, they really make the book come alive, and I really enjoyed that. I also really loved the cast of characters. Each of the books in this series is so different because of mostly the cast of characters. Yes, the setting has a big part to play, but the cast of characters is different from book to book. The only 2 characters that we can find being repeated are the ones that we're traveling with, meaning Al, our main character, as well as is Uncle Nat, who accompanies him on these trips. Also, if you're looking for a book with an amazing train setting, this one is incredible. This whole series is so amazing for its train setting because the authors also give you a lot of information about trains, and I found that to be so interesting and so fascinating. So I would totally recommend this. You can totally read the books out of order. The other books are mentioned in like each new book that gets added to the series, but they are not spoiled or anything like that, so you could read like this one before you read the rest, for example. But honestly, this whole series is so underrated, and it's one of my favorite middle grade series, and I would totally recommend it, and I feel like not enough people are talking about it. So please pick this series up if you haven't already. I am so excited for the next book, which is coming out, I believe, this fall. So I guess that means that we are going to be starting the last book for this reading vlog, which is Love and Other Train Wrecks by Leah Conan. So I don't know too much about the plot of this. I believe we're following two teenagers who are on a train ride in New York. I don't know if it's upstate New York or just like New York in general. Our two main characters get stuck on a train ride in the middle of a snowstorm, and I believe they decide to leave the train and try to get to their destination on foot. So I don't know how much of the plot will actually take place on the train, but I am looking forward to it. I have heard not a lot of people talk about it, but I have seen a couple people recommend it recently, so I am quite looking forward to reading it. And I haven't read a good YA contemporary in a hot sec. I don't even remember what the last YA contemporary that I've read was, so I'm quite curious to be getting to this one. It's also part of my winter reading list, so I love being able to knock another book out of that list. So I am 100 pages and 6 into Love and Other Train Wrecks, and I'll be honest, so far I'm not loving it. So one of our main characters is such a classicist jerk. She was on the train, she was reading Murakami, and she had Madame Bovary in her bag, and she just thought she was superior to everyone around her because she was reading like a classic. And then Noah, the male protagonist, comes in and he has a Kindle and he's reading the Hunger Games, and she's making fun of him for that, and she thought she was so much better because she had a physical book with her and she was reading a classic. And I don't know, I hated her on the spot kind of, and I was like, oh my god, I hate those people in real life, so seeing them in a book just makes it not great. I was already kind of not vibing with her female main character, but seeing that just made me not like her at all. Like I said, I'm about 100 pages in and I kind of want to DNF it. I like Noah, the male protagonist, but the female protagonist gets on my nerves so badly. So yeah, I feel like she's very much of a jerk and I kind of hate her and I don't want to read this book anymore. I was only 20 pages in and I was like, okay, I hate her. I want to DNF this. But I'm gonna carry it out because I am curious to see what is going to happen. So far, our two main characters decided to leave the train and to walk towards a bus stop in the middle of a snowstorm. I am not loving it, which is such a shame because I had high hopes for it. Like I thought I would enjoy this more than I am, but so far it's not it. So I finished it. And I don't really know how to feel about this, to be honest. I didn't like this. I was not enjoying my time reading it, though I'll be honest, towards the end I felt a little bit more invested in the story. It kind of reminded me of Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, but I much prefer Amy and Roger's. So I don't really know how to feel about this, quite frankly. I feel like a 2-star rating is too low because it wasn't bad per se, it just really was not for me. The main characters were kind of insufferable in their own ways. I did not really like the female main character, and the male narrator, I didn't hate him, but I don't know, like towards the end he got annoying, so I don't really know how to feel, like I said. And a 3-star seems way too high because usually a 3-star for me is I enjoyed it but it wasn't amazing, and in this case it's like I did not even enjoy it. So maybe a 2.5 would be the right rating. Maybe I'll give it a 2 on Goodreads, I don't really know. But unfortunately this wasn't for me, and that makes me really sad because I wanted to love this. Like the concept of it was fine. I think the characters are what made me not enjoy the story at all. So I guess that's it for this video. I don't really have a conclusion for this one. I was expecting to enjoy everything that I've read, and I thought the setting would make sure that I would enjoy everything that I read this week, but as it turns out it was not the case, so that's unfortunate. And even though I love train settings, I need more than just a train setting in order to enjoy a book. The story and the characters have to be there. Like even though I might love the setting, there's more elements that play a role in my enjoyment of a story. So if you guys have any more recommendations for books set on trains, especially mystery thrillers, I feel like those are really good. I feel like a train is a perfect place to set up like a murder or a mystery. I feel like this environment is very conducive to a murder. I don't know if it's the closed circle aspect of it that I like. Anyway, if you guys have any recommendations for books that are set on trains, mystery or not, leave them in the comments down below. I would love to get your recommendations. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!